Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David. This next story is a love story about two lovely little Jewish boys, and it's titled When Bibi Met Jesus. Joe Biden was caught on a hot mic after the State of the Union address. He was talking with Colorado Senator Michael Bennet on the House floor following the State of the Union address. And Bennett complimented Biden on his speech and encouraged him to keep the pressure on Israel over humanitarian issues. Biden responded by telling Bennett that he had told Bibi, using a nickname the leader of the Jewish state is known by, that the pair needed to have a come to Jesus meeting. Aides came over to let Biden know he was on a hot mic, and Biden said, "Oh, well, good." So Biden apparently has privately referred to Netanyahu as an asshole. All right. What's going on with that? Netanyahu's corrupt. He's corrupt just like the previous administration was corrupt. And he answers to the far right, just like we've been dealing with in the past, with the Trump administration, and basically where Trump wants to take us in 2024. So, the U.S.'s reputation went down during the Trump years. I know the MAGA people don't want to hear that, but it's true. And, folks in NATO and the EU weren't quite sure what to do with the United States because all of a sudden we're pulling out of treaties that were hard negotiated and doing things that, nations led by stable leaders don't do. And you can imagine the conundrum they're in because they don't want to write off the United States, but they can see that they have an unhinged leader catering to a far-right fascist party. And what do? Because that doesn't represent the American people, and it may not represent the United States in 4 years. But, okay, fine. Now Biden gets in there, and now you got a stable leader again, and the U.S. starts acting normally again. But what's going to happen in 2024? Are we going to go back to Crazy Town? Is it going to be a Jekyll and Hyde moment? So I think, for folks like, we cut all the funding to Israel. The United States and Israel has had a close relationship, especially, intelligence-wise, for decades. Israel right now is under a very far-right extremist government. They've been under a conservative government for a very long time, but this is just even more so. Kind of like how MAGA is even more so. And their government might swing much towards a more neutral conservative, moving away from that far right to something a bit more center right, and a lot more centered than where they currently are now, where they don't feel the need to eliminate every member of Hamas and basically bulldoze every building in the process. So you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater because you've got one bad leader in there. But I think Biden's frustrated because Netanyahu is not acting like a responsible leader. And the irony, of course, is having a come to Jesus moment or a come to Jesus talk. When you're talking about Jesus and Jewish people, the irony is just delicious. It's a term, but it's a really funny term to throw out there. Okay. Entertainment purposes only. Two nice Jewish boys. They need to talk and sort things out. The general feeling around Joe Biden and his frustrations with Netanyahu. What's going on with that? Entertainment purposes only. Somebody's about to get an ass whooping. Biden just pulled out the big stick. Now, mind you, that's probably not Biden. That's Dark Brandon, right? This Joe Biden's, good old happy Uncle Joe. But this is that Dark Brandon edge where it's like, you effed around and now you're about to find out. Netanyahu's not listening. And, when they say, if you get a bigger hammer, if it won't fit, get a bigger hammer. I think Biden's done with subtlety. He's done with, not pleading, but, enticing, like trying to get the child. This is like trying to get the child into the car. and they're fighting you and they're running away and mouthing off, and you're trying to entice them with candy or gum, or you'll let them listen to something on the radio. You're offering them cookies to get in, and they're being obstinate. Well, I've offered you all sorts of carrots. Here comes the stick. Maybe you should have taken, maybe next time you'll learn to take the carrots, because the stick is always there. Biden doesn't use the stick much. The stick's coming out. Spare the rod, spoil the child. It's crossed with the United States and Israel and their relationship that they've had, the close relationship they've had for a really long time. Now, it's rather ironic that Israel wants a mass extermination of a group of people that they don't see eye to eye with. Again, the irony is amazing. But just because you're in Israel and just because you're Jewish doesn't mean that you're a good person. All races, all nationalities have good people, and they have egotistical, selfish people of low energy. And Netanyahu's one of those. He's corrupt. But the one thing that's been keeping Joe Biden from using the big stick is the long-standing relationship that we've had with Israel. Underneath it is the King of Pentacles. But one of the things that keeps this relationship going is that the U.S. provides funding and things of value to Israel. And in turn, we have a close relationship, and it helps with intelligence gathering and other such things. It's a mutually beneficial relationship, but it's not 50-50. There's a bigger player and a smaller player in here. And this guy is starting to get tired because this child is just not playing the game anymore. This is the child that's having the fit. If you stop, please stop having a fit. Take this rose instead. Take this flower instead. No. Okay. Big stick time. Don't want to do it, but I will do it. And it will probably involve funding. In the past, we got the Nine of Swords. What happened in Israel with Hamas is horrific. I'm not going to downplay that. It is absolutely horrific. But it's not an act that happened in isolation. This is a natural consequence when you've bullied people around you and taken away their hope. They have no problem lashing back out at you with disproportionate force. And the whole, everything that's going on in the world with Ukraine, and then this happens and it brings the temperature up, and there's a lot of supposition that Putin is behind all this to cause more unrest. It's a horrible situation. The U.S. asked for Israel to restrain itself. It kind of has, but not really. And what's worse is that Israel is taking an attitude of, this is our country. We're going to do what we want, and you can't tell us what to do. Well, the U.S. does have leverage. They've tried carrots. Carrots aren't working. It's time for sticks. Current situation is the Three of Wands. This is overseas help, overseas funding, looking to the rest of the world to unify and help out in the situation there. Multiple world leaders have they want a ceasefire. They want an immediate ceasefire. They want to get aid to the people in Gaza. They are almost at a famine stage right now. And there's a lot of suffering, and the world does not want to see that. The world is ready to help. But the problem is Netanyahu basically said they weren't going to stop the war until they pretty much had entirely eliminated Hamas, 100%. You can't ever 100% eliminate them. You can't. It's not possible. New ones grow. But on top of this, this is Netanyahu answering to the far-right extremists in the government. He doesn't answer to the people. He doesn't want to answer to the United States. His whole deal is that as long as he's, the leader, the prime minister of Israel, he's not going to prison for stuff that he's done. Corruption charges are looming. And he's managed to avoid those. And now that he's in the prime ministership again, Just like, Trump trying to be the president again, he's trying to avoid accountability for his actions. The United States is wanting him to back away from horrific actions that he's doing. The suffering that happens, and it's unnecessary suffering. The lesson to be learned is the 8 of coins. It's going to cost a lot to rebuild Israel and Gaza. Not so much Israel, but a lot more in Gaza. There's a lot of money that's involved here. A lot of humanitarian aid that needs to come in here. And the health of the people needs to happen. There's a lot of money involved in this. Money coming from the United States, money being supplied to Israel. And I guess in the end of the day, what this is saying is, if you want to break the devil, you've got to get the big stick and threaten to pull the money away. Daddy Warbanks here is going to say, nope, sorry, not going to give you any more money. Too bad. Good luck continuing your war when you have no money with which to do it. Or supplies. Contracts may be canceled. Israel relies on the United States. They are surrounded by enemies. And if they act like this, the United States may not be there for them. The United States does not want to walk away from Israel. They absolutely don't. But Israel's kind of forcing a hand, and now we have to get a bigger stick. And that bigger stick, the Ace of Wands, is now the Ace of Swords. It's the just and right thing to do. Israel needs the United States. Without the United States, Israel does not exist. And that's not to say anything about the quality of the people in Israel. It's nothing to say about the bravery or the skills of Israel. It's just literally Israel is surrounded by enemies. And it relies on the U.S. funding, U.S. technology and stuff like that to maintain their borders and maintain their military superiority over their neighbors. And this is not bragging. This is not being jingoistic or anything or egotistical or anything along those lines. It's just the way it is. And you've got Netanyahu just thumbing his nose at the U.S. In this case, the U.S. isn't trying to tell Israel what to do. It's trying to calm them down. And, Netanyahu's unreasonable. He's being unreasonable. And a lot of people in Palestine are suffering for this. Unnecessarily. I have strong opinions, obviously, about the Russian-Ukraine war, too. That one's a little less gray to me. This one's got a lot more gray in it. Will Joe's come to Jesus talk with Bibi? How's that going to turn out? Or how's that talk going to go? Give me the energy around that talk. We'll do a little 4-carder. What's the energy around that talk? Knight of Cups. He's going to Joe's offering Bibi another chance here. Do you want to do? I'll do a bigger reading on that one. Yeah, there's an offer to do things differently. A peace offering, no ceasefire. Now, Bibi right now is acting like an emperor, but Joe can be the emperor too, because Joe is the emperor that this emperor answers to. The Chariot. Things progressing. This might actually help. It may not help overnight, but it's going to move. It's moving things in the right direction here for a ceasefire. In the past, you got the Four of Wands. This would be the start of the war, and the U.S. trying to get Israel to give measured responses to it. Current situation is the High Priestess. The U.S. is continuing to give High Priestess responses. High Priestess is about feminine divine knowledge and wisdom. You just have to ask the question, you get the answers. It's also the most Jewish card in here. So it's the U.S. trying to give sage advice and wise advice to Israel. The U.S. wants a ceasefire. They want to get aid to the people in Gaza, the Palestinians in Gaza. No, it's the same card that came out in the thing. The U.S. is actually providing the aid. They will probably continue to provide money for Israel. Now they're working on the Israel funding bill, which would provide funding for Israel as well as aid to Gaza and the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. It's a multi-pronged approach. Again, Israel needs U.S. support in order to survive. The overarching energy, a lesson to be learned is the disappointment. The United States is disappointed in Israel. We have a lot of influence with them, but in this particular government, our influence is greatly diminished because they're basically giving us the bird. Don't tell us what to do. And it's heartbreaking. You ever try and give somebody some advice and it's good, solid advice that's going to help them and they ignore you? How do you feel about that? Watching 30%, 33% of this country just absolutely support an extremist party and a fascist leader. And you try to talk to them, family and friends, people who should love and trust your judgment, and you try to explain to them how this person brings out the worst in people, and they don't want to hear you. They just don't want to hear you. It's that same disappointment. Why do you value somebody like this when you could be valuing me, who's always been there for you? Outcome is the Seven of Swords. That's not a great outcome. The U.S. is giving advice. It's wise advice. They're disappointed. It's Israel. In these discussions, they might misrepresent things. That's a fancy word for lying. There's the Seven of Swords here. It's getting away with it, sneaking off into the night. I don't think this is like, okay, well, we'll stop this war and we'll sneak off tonight, or we'll sneak supplies in here. It's sneakier than that. It's kind of like how that last ceasefire, I think, had these two cards in it. They had the ability to keep extending it, and they had the opportunity to do it, but they didn't. Israel, I think, voted to cease the ceasefire because they wanted to continue doing what they're doing. It's going to be something like that. If Israel agrees to a ceasefire, it's basically planning on continuing fighting. This is not going to be Israel lying, saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to have a ceasefire," and then just keep fighting. I think they would honor a ceasefire, but the ceasefire will just be long enough for things to get food in there, and then they're going to resume military operations again. Because F you guys, we're going to do what we do. And let that energy go. What's it going to take? What does Joe Biden have to do? Oh, it's not even Joe Biden. What has to happen in Israel for Israel to stop? What is, Spirit, if you can give me an idea, what's it going to be that finally causes the Israeli leadership to scale back and eventually stop their operations, their military operations in Gaza? What's it going to take? What a little for Carter, what's it going to take? Entertainment purposes only. I'm getting tired with this one. Backroom negotiations. It's going to be international negotiations, money changing hands, things of value. It's going to be behind. It's going to be a diplomatic. It's going to be a diplomatic solution. Queen of Wands. Wonder if the citizenry have something to do with this here. King of Cups. Here's Biden. The World card. The world's getting involved. And money. I'm not sure who the Queen of Wands is. It's there's going to be backdoor negotiations, quiet negotiations between the State Departments have been going on. Biden's going to be at the center of this here. The world is involved, and this Queen of Wands. I don't know who the Queen of Wands is or what this is representing. It could be again, this could be the Israeli people. If nothing else, you got elections coming up and stuff like that. But there's big things of value, big things of health. I think it's more money than health, though. It's almost like if you stop, we will sell you more advanced military equipment or something. There's something of very big value to Netanyahu that he's looking for. And Israel's looking for them to back off. And it could be part of this. This could also be like, this is obviously not the president of Palestine, but this could be the Palestinian Authority offering to help along with the rest of the world with the terrorist organizations and defunding of them. It could be something like that. It's like Israel, I think, will be willing to do it if you get the Palestinian government to agree to crack down and defund groups that are hostile towards Israel. That's kind of what I'm getting is going to eventually settle this. Israel is behaving like they're in a crisis, not an identity crisis, but a existential crisis. That's what I'm looking for. If we don't stop this now, we're not going to exist as a people, type of thing. And they need some assurances that they're going to be allowed to exist. But really, ultimately, what needs to happen is there's going to have to be a two-state solution. Palestine's got to have their own state. And right now, the far right in Israel, the Israeli government, isn't interested in that. They're only interested in bloodshed. So we'll see what happens with that. Thank you everyone for watching this video and supporting my channel. I appreciate it. Thank you for your kind words, your likes, and your shares, and everything that you do to help boost this channel and feed the algorithm and get it out to a wider audience. Folks just discovering this channel for the first time, welcome. I hope you found this reading insightful, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.